Practice run.
How are you? Born, and that's where things happen as we work with each other. Very quickly, the Bicycle Federation of Wisconsin. We are Wisconsin's only statewide organization that represents anybody that enjoys being on a bike. So it's the hammerheads, it's the lycra-wearing bicyclists, it's the mountain bikers. We have our beginnings in Madison. We also have an office in Milwaukee, where I'm from, but we work with communities all across the state. And as I said on the radio today, I've said to people here, what we see here in La Crosse, and it's evidenced by this very large crowd, is very exciting. You guys are doing it. You can accomplish great things. And what I'd like to touch on here is what I think collectively our opportunity here is in Wisconsin, what our challenges are, and where we go forward. This is the vision that guides me and guides our organization, and we truly believe this. This might be wholesale arrogance. I'll try to prove you otherwise. But by 2025, the Bike Fed, its members, and leaders from around the state will work collectively and collaboratively to transform Wisconsin, its cities, and towns into one of the world's great places to be on a bike. I believe we can get there, and I'm going to try to convince you how. Well, why do I think we can get there? We've got these amazing assets for bicycling in Wisconsin. We don't tend to talk about them enough. And it's important to, because these assets are things that we can leverage. But thanks to the dairy industry, we've got this interconnected road network. I would argue the best interconnected rural road network in the country. And think of our natural beauty. You've got it in spades here in La Crosse. It's one of our great assets. And you know, our neighboring states, or really any state, can't say that. You go to Iowa, not to slam on Iowa, but you've ridden RAGBRAI, you get off that main route for RAGBRAI, you're in a gravel road, right? We've got the country's most extensive trail network, the Elroy Sparta, which we passed as we were coming in, and all over the state of our great state trails, local trails, single track trails that are being built around here in La Crosse. Again, an amazing network. We need to do a better job of selling that. Hansi touched on the tourism value of that. Think of all the amazing races and events that happen in Wisconsin. Again, it underpins our great just cycling culture. Really deep and diverse cycling culture. Tim touched on this. You know, we've got people that love to ride on their bikes to work, and that's what they do. Certainly, we've got a great racing community, a mountain biking community, and you know, I'd argue few states can say just that. And you're going to hear from John Burke very quickly here. But the nation's bicycling industry is here in Wisconsin. Trek, Ceres, Planet Bike, Mount Bora, very nearby. They're putting Wisconsin residents to work, producing things for the thing that we love, bicycling, and that industry is here in Wisconsin. And that translates, and all those other assets translate into a very large economic impact. And this is something that we as an organization are trying to get better and better at that. And if there's one message I'm going to throw out there is, you as a local community need to understand what that value is. But here's what has been concluded recently. The direct economic impact of the bicycling industry is about $550+ million a year. If you look at the recreational and tourism impact of bicycling, it's the people that come from Minnesota, come to our races, our tours, that go up north to ride their bikes, and in our national forests. It's $950 million. Now, many of our members are also deer hunters. Some of them like to ride snowmobiles, so we're not slamming on them. But the economic impact of deer hunting is about $900 million. Snowmobiling about $250 million, about $250 million. Our bicycle industry and recreational tourism is $1.5 billion. And here's a quote from Bike Portland. This is the only thing I'm going to put above Portland here in my presentation. The size of our bike economy is peanuts compared to Wisconsin. So this is something that we need to leverage. greater opportunity. And as Larry touched on, we have communities that have put the stake in the ground and said, we want to be bicycle friendly. We're promoting this program in communities across the state. And La Crosse has the foresight to do it. They're a bronze, as Larry said. In Milwaukee, where I live, is a bronze. In Madison is a gold. The mayor convened a group a few years ago to work on becoming platinum. It's called the Platinum Report. But we've got some challenges, and I want to quickly roll through them. If you look at the percentage of the federal pie that Wisconsin spends on bicycle infrastructure, it's 1.4%. Now this graph is a little deceiving because we're not 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, sixth. We put that out for comparison. We're more like 36th. So we've got all these great assets, but we choose to spend that pie less than 1.5%. Look at where Arizona is. They're doing amazing things in Arizona. This federal dollar that comes down, which we have discretion over as a state. Look at how little money we're spending. We're not very well organized. And I think that's one of the common themes here. That's why we're all together, to get organized and create momentum. So just to give you a comparison, we're about 3,000 members for a state that is 5.5 million people. If you try to run a comparison with other population centers, San Francisco Bike Coalition, and this is actually outdated, they're now 10,000 members for a city that's 657,000 people. So we're not very well organized, we're not joined together. We see it as a statewide level, an organization like ours. I think you know, locally here would say, hey, we need to be better organized. We need cutting edge legislation and policies to protect our rights on the road and our place on the road, our kids and their ability to get to and from school, and funding. If we're gonna create a more bicycle-friendly Wisconsin and a more bicycle-friendly La Crosse, we need to contemplate how we're spending our transportation dollar. And I touched on this before. We're not organized. There I am at my desk in Milwaukee. And actually, and we're doing pretty poorly when you look at the rest of the world. Some lucky person will get a draft of this. I have 2 copies here. When you compare where we are relative to the rest of the world, I'm just going to throw out 2 stats. Madison, our most bicycle-friendly city in Wisconsin, has a mode share of about 3.5 or 4%. And that's, of all trips taken, 3.5 to 4% are taken by bicycle. Madison has 45 miles of bike paths, dedicated bike paths, 45 miles. Copenhagen, 45 to 50% of all trips are taken by bicycle. 218 miles of dedicated bike paths. So relative to the rest of the world and relative to other places in this country, we're behind. And those other places committed. Chicago and London and Amsterdam, they committed at some point and said, you know what, we're gonna make this happen. And I think that's our opportunity here in Wisconsin. That's what you all are doing here by being at this first bike summit, is you're committing. And you're saying, you know what, we're gonna see forward progress. That's what we need to do. And here's a picture of Copenhagen taken 30 years ago, glutted with cars. And they committed. They committed. This is the oil embargo that happened prior to this picture being taken. That was a real important moment in Copenhagen's history, and they committed. Now, massive amounts of people on bikes. And I don't know why people in Copenhagen don't smile. It's so commonplace. Look at that woman. Why isn't she smiling? It's so commonplace there. You know, because it rains all the time.
It's the weather.
It rains all the time. That's not an organized ride. No, that's not an organized ride. That's people, you know why they're not smiling? They're going to work. Okay, and don't blame the weather, okay? Yeah, they're a little closer to the ocean. But you can make it happen. You can make intelligent investments. And here's a bike path that has been plowed or paved before the roadway. All right, how often do we see that? So what are we doing? This was touched on before.